What do all these players have in common? They all went viral in high school, some more than others. In the age of social media, it's pretty normal for high school basketball players to blow up online, whether it's their swagger, their physique, or just pure raw talent that demands attention. The internet can't get enough. But here's the catch. Going viral in high school isn't always a blessing. For some, it's the peak, and things can go downhill fast from there. So, stick with me as we dive into why these viral hoopers faded out. Starting with Liangelo Ball, one of the famous Ball brothers, stands out as the only sibling who hasn't made it to the NBA. Despite his high-profile last name and being part of the most talked-about basketball family in years, even his outspoken father, LeVar Ball, has admitted he doesn't see Liangelo making it to the league. So, how did the leading scorer on one of the greatest high school basketball teams ever end up falling short of his NBA dream? Let's break it down. Back in high school, Liangelo played alongside his brother Lonzo and LaMelo at Chino Hills High School, a team many argue was the greatest in high school basketball history. Undefeated with a 35-0 record, they dominated the court, and Liangelo was their leading scorer, averaging 34.2 points per game. At the time, it seemed inevitable that he'd follow Lonzo to the NBA. I mean, if you're putting up those kinds of numbers on the best high school team in the country, the NBA seems like a lock, right? Well, not so fast. Liangelo's collegiate career at UCLA started with high expectations that took a sharp turn before it even began. During a team trip to China, Liangelo and two other UCLA players were arrested for shoplifting from a Louis Vuitton store. The situation escalated quickly. China doesn't take theft lightly, and the players were facing up to 10 years in prison. The incident became an international spectacle, even prompting then-President Trump to step in. Fortunately, after some high-level diplomacy, the charges were dropped and Liangelo returned home. In a public apology, he said, "I'd like to start off by saying sorry for stealing from the stores in China. I apologize to my family, my coaches, my teammates, and UCLA for letting so many people down. I'd also like to thank President Trump and the US government for their help." But the damage was done. UCLA suspended him for the entire season, and rather than waiting it out, Liangelo decided to leave. As he put it, "That's just a long time of doing nothing. I'd rather be playing." LeVar Ball, always a man with a plan, sent Liangelo and LaMelo to play pro ball in Lithuania's LKL League. While the move was widely criticized, trading UCLA's prestige for the modest Lithuanian league, Liangelo actually performed decently, averaging 12.6 points and 2.7 rebounds per game. With those stats, Liangelo declared for the 2018 NBA draft, but when draft night came, his name wasn't called. Undrafted and unsure of his next move, LeVar created the JBL to give his son another platform. Playing for the Los Angeles Ballers, Liangelo averaged 50 points per game, won league MVP, and led his team to the championship. Unfortunately, the league folded after one season. Liangelo's journey back to the NBA spotlight was rocky. He signed a G League contract with the Oklahoma City Blue, but didn't play a single game. He later joined the Pistons, but was cut before he could hit the floor. His best opportunity came in 2021 when the Hornets invited him to play in the NBA Summer League. This felt like his moment to shine, but the results were underwhelming at best. Liangelo averaged just 4.7 points per game, and the Hornets ultimately cut him. Even Lonzo, his biggest cheerleader, had to admit, "I think his path is overseas." While Liangelo's basketball career hasn't panned out as many expected, he's recently been exploring a completely different passion: music. That's right, Liangelo has stepped into the rap game, dropping his first single and making waves on the scene. For those who followed the Ball family saga, this pivot into music might not be a huge surprise. The Ball brothers have always been multi-talented, and Liangelo has mentioned his love for music in past interviews. The track is currently the #1 trending song on YouTube Music, racking up 3.9 million views as of this writing. On Spotify, the song amassed an impressive 1.32 million streams in its first day. Ball is proving that his crossover appeal goes far beyond basketball, but it leaves us wondering, is this the beginning of a new career path, or just a side project for the middle Ball brother? Next up, we have Julian Newman. The same Julian Newman who became a household name in basketball circles at just 12 years old thanks to his dribbling skills and intense training sessions. The kid who once mesmerized millions with his flashy handles and viral workout videos is still chasing the NBA dream. But let's be real, it's time for a reality check. Back in high school, Julian was a scoring machine, averaging up to 30 points per game during his senior year. But here's the thing. Julian played under his father's coaching, which gave him complete freedom on the court. He could take as many shots as he wanted, regardless of whether they were good ones. That kind of unchecked freedom led to gaudy stats, but it didn't help him develop a team-oriented style of play, a critical skill for climbing the basketball ladder. And then there's his attitude. In interviews as a kid, Julian seemed humble and polite. Fast forward a few years, and we saw a different side of him. From trash-talking opponents to moments of frustration on the court, scouts were turned off by his cockiness. At just 5'7", Julian needed to prove he could be more than just a volume shooter. Unfortunately, he didn't. When Julian graduated high school, the offers he dreamed of never came. No D1 schools, no D2 schools, not even D3s. So he pivoted to the creator world, participating in influencer leagues and pickup games with other social media stars. But even in these low-stakes competitions, Julian's desire to prove himself often overshadowed his actual performance. Surprisingly, Julian didn't completely give up on organized basketball. In 2024, as a 24-year-old freshman, he joined a college basketball team. Before his debut game, Julian's confidence was on full display, proclaiming he'd drop 40 points. The result? A brutal reality check. He went scoreless on 0 for 6 shooting in limited minutes. Julian addressed his performance after the game, brushing it off as a fluke and claiming, "Nobody can guard me." But the numbers didn't lie. His struggles highlighted the gap between his high school hype and his current ability to compete at higher levels. Julian's story is a classic example of early stardom not translating into long-term success. Scouts weren't just skeptical of his height, they were concerned about his unwillingness to adapt his game. And while his viral fame gave him opportunities most players only dream of, it also created unrealistic expectations. In the end, Julian Newman might still believe he's NBA-bound, but his lack of development, questionable attitude, and inability to shine in even modest competitions suggest otherwise. While he remains a popular figure in the basketball world for his viral past, his on-court future seems, well, futureless. Kyree Walker was at the center of one of the most viral high school basketball moments when he faced Julian Newman in a 2016 matchup that racked up over 13 million views on YouTube. At the time, Kyree was already making waves, averaging 21 points and 7 rebounds as a freshman. It was clear he was one of the top recruits in his class, and his basketball future seemed bright. After a stellar freshman year, Kyree transferred to Hillcrest Prep, a school with a bigger basketball platform. Over the next 2 seasons, he put up numbers that solidified his place among the elite: 25 points per game as a sophomore and 30 points per game as a junior. But unlike other viral hoopers, Kyree was determined to avoid being labeled as just a high school legend. In his own words, "I had to figure out what I was going to be. Was I going to be a high school legend, which I don't want to be? Cool, but that's not the end goal. High school basketball is cool, but you're trying to make it to the league. You're trying to be that dude in the league." Kyree committed to Arizona State during his sophomore year, setting the stage for what could have been a standout collegiate career. However, things took a surprising turn. Kyree opted to skip his senior season of high school basketball altogether, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. Suddenly, he went quiet on social media. In April 2020, Kyree resurfaced with an announcement. He would bypass college and join Chameleon BX, a 12-month intensive training program led by Frank Matroscano. Known for pushing athletes to their limits, Matroscano had trained NBA talents like Blake Griffin and Zach Randolph. Kyree believed this program would prepare him better for the NBA than a year in college. But this move came with major risks. Unlike his peers who gained exposure on the national stage through college basketball, Kyree was essentially invisible to scouts and fans for an entire year. Kyree defended his decision, saying, "If you watch me play today, I'm 10 times better than I was in my junior year. By far, no question. Just because I didn't play senior year doesn't mean I wasn't hooping. I worked out every single day." While his commitment to improvement is undeniable, the lack of on-court action hurt his visibility. When the 2021 draft came around, Kyree went undrafted. Scouts simply hadn't seen enough of him. As of November 2024, Kyree has joined Nalike Bison in Mongolia's professional basketball league, named The League. Yes, the league's actual name is The League. While it's great to see Kyree back on the court, this might give you a sense of where his career trajectory stands. For a player once heralded as one of the most exciting prospects of his class, it's a humbling reminder of how difficult the leap to the NBA can be. Kyree's story is a cautionary tale about the risks of stepping off the traditional path in basketball. His decision to skip college might have been bold, but it came with consequences that have kept him far from the NBA spotlight. Up next, we'll talk about a player who actually made it to the league but finds himself struggling for a very different set of reasons. Markelle Fultz's basketball journey is a roller coaster tale of potential, setbacks, and resilience. Early in his high school career, he wasn't exactly the prototypical star. Standing at just 5'9", Fultz was lanky and awkward, often struggling with knee pain. In fact, he was cut from his varsity team as a sophomore. But fate had other plans. Before his junior season, Fultz experienced a 6-inch growth spurt, transforming him into a physical force. That year, he averaged 16.8 points, 7.9 rebounds, and 4.3 assists per game, catching the attention of college scouts. His hard work paid off when he committed to the University of Washington. The choice raised eyebrows. Washington wasn't known for producing NBA stars, with Isaiah Thomas being their most prominent alum, drafted 60th overall. But Fultz was undeterred, and his senior high school season silenced doubters. He exploded for 19.1 points and 8.8 rebounds per game, cementing himself as a top 3 national recruit. At Washington, Fultz's game reached new heights. As a freshman, he averaged 23.2 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 5.9 assists per game. Despite his team's lackluster season, Fultz emerged as the best player in the stacked 2017 NBA draft, which included stars like Jason Tatum and Donovan Mitchell. The Sixers selected him number 1 overall, envisioning him as the final piece of their process, but what started as a dream quickly turned into a nightmare. As Fultz prepared for his NBA debut, something felt off. His shooting form, once smooth and reliable, became unrecognizable. Videos of his awkward jump shot went viral, sparking confusion and concern. Fultz later revealed, "I kinda knew my shoulder wasn't right, but I just kept playing. Doctors couldn't identify the problem. I got MRIs and they didn't see anything. That messed with my mind because I knew something wasn't right." Eventually, Fultz was diagnosed with thoracic outlet syndrome, a rare nerve condition that affects the area between the neck and shoulder. By the time of his diagnosis, the damage, both physical and psychological, was done. Fultz had already played his last game for the Sixers, who traded him to Orlando in 2019. In Orlando, Fultz finally began to thrive away from the intense scrutiny of Philadelphia. By the 2022-23 season, he was averaging 14 points, 5.7 assists, and 3.9 rebounds per game, showcasing flashes of the player who once dominated at every level. But just as it seemed Fultz was regaining his footing, another setback struck. At the start of the 2024 season, he suffered tendinitis in his right knee, limiting him to just half the season. His minutes were slashed, and whispers of his potential departure from Orlando began circulating. For the first time in his career, Fultz became an unrestricted free agent in 2024. With the ability to choose his next chapter, many expected a bidding war for the former number 1 pick. Instead, the market was silent. No teams expressed serious interest, and as of now, Markelle Fultz remains unsigned. What happens when a basketball player's story is defined more by their extraordinary physical traits than their performance on the court? Enter Romania-born Robert Bobroczkyi, a player whose sheer presence is enough to leave audiences in disbelief. Standing at an astonishing 7'7", Bob doesn't just look tall, he looks otherworldly. Viral clips of him playing in Italy at just 15 years old showcased a gangly, almost puppet-like figure who seemed out of place on the court, yet impossible to ignore. His rapid growth spurt left him perpetually awkward, as if his body had outpaced his coordination. Rob's unique physique earned him a spot at the prestigious Spire Institute. At the time, he weighed only 180 pounds, the same as NBA star Steph Curry, despite being more than a foot taller. Recognizing the challenges his frame presented, Rob embarked on an ambitious year-long 5,000 calorie per day diet. The result? He gained just 10 pounds. Injuries also plagued his career. A significant back injury forced Robert to sit out his senior season, stalling his development further. In July 2020, he enrolled at Rochester Christian University, but due to COVID-19 disruptions, he never played a single game. After that, Rob Bob seemingly vanished from the basketball world. Footage of him post-2020 is virtually non-existent, and by all indications, he's moved on from the sport. Yet his story wasn't entirely over. He re-emerged in the spotlight in a different arena, Hollywood. Rob transitioned to acting, where his unique appearance continues to captivate audiences. Though his basketball career never materialized the way many hoped, Rob Bob remains a reminder that sometimes the most compelling stories aren't just about stats or wins, but about the people behind them. Few players have captivated the basketball world as early as Mikey Williams. At just 14, Mikey gained national attention playing alongside Bronny James for the North Coast Blue Chips, a middle school team coached by the king himself, LeBron James. Mikey's athleticism was on full display, throwing down dunks that seemed impossible for a player his age. Naturally, this team went viral, with YouTube videos of their games amassing millions of views, instantly making Mikey a household name in basketball circles. By the time he hit high school, Mikey was unstoppable. As a freshman, he scored an astounding 77 points in a single game, cementing himself as one of the most hyped young prospects in the nation. His dynamic play style, electric dunks, and social media presence built him a fan base larger than many college athletes. By his senior year, Mikey had a $3.6 million NIL valuation, fueled by endorsement deals including a groundbreaking partnership with Puma. He was the first high school player ever to sign with the global sportswear giant. But Mikey's meteoric rise came crashing down in March 2023. Trouble began when 2 girls and 3 men reportedly arrived unannounced at Mikey's home. Accounts of the incident vary, but tensions escalated, and Mikey allegedly brandished a gun, firing shots at the group's fleeing vehicle. The aftermath was swift and severe. Mikey was dropped from his Puma deal, lost his scholarship to the University of Memphis, and faced serious legal consequences. Eventually, Mikey accepted a plea deal which included behavioral therapy, gun safety courses, anger management classes, 80 hours of community service, and a 10-year firearm ban. While the deal kept him out of prison, the damage to his reputation and career was undeniable. Since the incident, Mikey's career and popularity have plummeted. Clips of him online now paint a different picture, not of a humble, hardworking phenom, but of a player with a cocky demeanor. In one viral video, Mikey boasted about making another player quit mid-game, saying, "You gotta understand though, I'm a dog. It was personal because you thought you could mess with me." Despite his flaws, Mikey's basketball highlights still show the raw talent that once made him so special. His gravity-defying dunks and fearless play style remain mesmerizing, but as his story shows, talent alone isn't enough. It's the choices you make, both on and off the court, that define your legacy. Mikey's journey has become a cautionary tale of what can happen when immense talent meets poor decision-making. Once a can't-miss prospect with a bright NBA future, Mikey now plays at the University of Central Florida. Currently averaging only 1.5 points per game on 29% shooting, can he turn things around and prove he's more than just a high school highlight reel? Or will he fade into the background as another what-could-have-been story? When you think of McClung, the first thing that probably comes to mind is high-flying dunks. Known for throwing down dunk contest-worthy slams during games, McClung's highlights became viral sensations. His electrifying athleticism earned him millions of YouTube views, and his flair for the spectacular caught the attention of Patrick Ewing, then Georgetown's head coach. Mac's high school performances, where he shattered ankles and dunked on opponents, were enough to convince Ewing to recruit him. McClung joined the Georgetown Hoyas in 2018, looking to prove he was more than just a dunker. As a freshman at Georgetown, McClung averaged a respectable 13.1 points and 2 assists per game. He showed flashes of brilliance but struggled with consistency, as many freshmen do. By his sophomore season, he improved, averaging 15.7 points and 2.4 assists per game, but questions about his ability to translate his game to the NBA level persisted. Hoping to boost his draft stock, McClung transferred to Texas Tech for his junior season. There, he posted similar numbers, 15.5 points and 2.1 assists per game. While his scoring ability and highlight reel dunks were undeniable, his overall game still left scouts unsure. In 2021, McClung declared for the NBA draft but went undrafted. While his athleticism and scoring were appealing, the reasons for his lack of draft day success became clear. Standing at 6'2" and weighing 185 pounds, McClung didn't fit the mold of a prototypical NBA guard. Scouts doubted his ability to defend taller, stronger players while replicating his offense against elite competition. Despite this setback, McClung didn't give up. He earned brief stints with the Bulls, Lakers, and 76ers, playing in just 4 NBA games, mostly in garbage time. While his NBA minutes were limited, McClung found another way to make his mark. In 2023, he entered the NBA dunk contest as a G League player and put on a show for the ages. His creativity and explosive hops wowed the crowd, earning him the title. He didn't stop there. In 2024, McClung defended his crown, becoming the first G League player to win back-to-back dunk contests. But McClung's success didn't end with dunks. He also won the G League MVP, proving his impact extended beyond highlight reels. Despite his accolades, McClung's size continues to be a hurdle. At 6'2", he's undersized for an NBA guard in a league that favors players 6'5" or taller, who can provide scoring and defense. While McClung has proven his scoring ability, his defensive limitations make it difficult for teams to commit to him long-term. This leaves McClung at a crossroads: stay in the G League indefinitely, hoping for another NBA opportunity, or head overseas, where smaller, dynamic guards like him often thrive. Mac's story is one of perseverance and unwavering self-belief. While he hasn't secured a full-time NBA roster spot, his influence on the game, from viral high school dunks to rewriting NBA dunk contest history, can't be ignored. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one.